Hi, a warm welcome to all of you. A Bifocal Naturalist is a video podcast which shares the stories of people from different walks of life, about their experiences, about their skills, and wisdom. A warm welcome to all of you. Our guest today is Shardul Bajikar. Shardul is a naturalist, and his mission has always been to educate people about the well being of the earth. Shardul has spearheaded several awareness campaigns. Hi, Shardul. A warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining my podcast.
Hello, madam. It's a pleasure to be talking to you, and it's always a pleasure and something that I very much enjoy when it is especially talking about wild nature. Okay. And I think I can't thank you enough for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, and a warm welcome to you again.
Yeah.
Shardul works at CEC, Conservation Education Center of Bombay Natural History Society, which is more than 140 years. Shardul's office is deep in the Mumbai's forest, and he sits surrounded by the iconic Karvi flowers, the purple flowers, which bloom only once in every 8 years. Lucky guy. I'm intrigued by his tales of lockdown strategies and Mumbai's mysterious nightlife. Hold your breath. Shardul will tell us all. How did your journey as a naturalist begin? And when did you turn into an educator? Over to you, Shardul.
Thank you. So, as a naturalist, probably somewhere in school, I started working, especially with science projects, and those projects were mainly to do with plants and that's what got hooked me into the plant world especially. But then when I walked into college, then I met Dr. Anish Andheria, and with him, actually, my journey into nature began. And I am thankful to my fortune or to, whoever the higher energy is, because the introduction that I got to the forest was something that really changed. In fact, I consider that as the single largest or the single biggest event in my life after my birth to have given a completely new direction to my life. Yeah. And the only thing I can do it's after Anish, of course, I met a lot of other naturalists. I got influence. I learned a lot from the likes of Isaac Kehimkar, Shubhalaxmi, and Bittu Sahgal, of course, Dr. Almeida. And with all these interactions, the only thing that I can do today to give back to them is take more and more people out with me into the forest and help them to get a leg up on nature. And that's probably the only way I have to actually uh, give it back or pay back my dues to all these people who have helped me understand nature. Of course, going beyond the people, there have been a lot of books, there has been a lot of reading, there has been a lot of inspiration that I have drawn from the people that I interacted with, as well as from wild nature itself.
You were also a writer. I think you were also published some articles, and you were with that Save
I
Us publications. You were also
yes.
with Sanctuary.
To put it like when you are with Sanctuary, okay, you can't help but want to try out and write something about the experiences. Okay, especially when you have somebody like a Bittu Sahgal working closely with you. Okay, so that influence, of course, got me to write about a few things that I prefer to write or I write about the most. And through various mediums, I have got the exposure. So whether it is magazines like Sanctuary, whether it is Savers, whether it is other articles that I have wrote. So there are three books that I have published. Basic today is about uh, butterflies of Sanjay Gandhi National Park. I have published a book on, co-authored a book on butterflies of Kanha Tiger Reserve, and a book on I edited a coffee table book on the Sanjay Gandhi National Park. So these three publications. Recently, I have worked on the book called Birds of Nagpur, which is another, very, very interesting place for me to work apart from the city of Mumbai. So yes, of course, I have tried to explore every medium that is available to communicate with as many people as possible. So just to go ahead with, with the same point is, like, at some point in my career, when I was, being getting into the social media aspect of it, then at that time I met a character on Twitter. Okay, it was a whale that I met on Twitter, and that whale continues to, tweet about all its experiences and stuff. So inspired by that, I decided to, give voice to a ficus tree in my building compound, which is on Twitter also, and it keeps on talking about general stuff about trees, of course, the natural history of plants and stuff, but also at the same time, whatever good or bad thing the tree has seen or is seeing around it. So it becomes quite of a social commentary, but by the tree. Okay, so I've tried to explore each and every medium available. Okay, and somewhere I'll continue doing that, and I'll try to do it much better than what I could till now.
Wonderful. And I think wish you all the best. Shardul, I've been fascinated by your stories of the nightlife of Mumbai. Nothing better than hearing it, from a young person. So can you tell us, shed some light on it?
So the thing is, as human beings, as a species, we are primarily diurnal. Okay, night is supposed to be sleeping and helping our body recover. It is a very, very important, part of our daily cycle. Uh, but then what happens with nature is that uh, the nightlife is a completely different game. Whether it is on the seashore, whether it is in the forests, okay, it's a completely different game. One, first of all, it is very foreign to us. It's exotic to us because we have never explored it. Okay, it is always by our, what you say, culture, by our education, by our practices. We have always alluded the night. Okay, and that is what has carried on to now that we are going to national parks and stuff. The problem continues because all of our national parks, almost all of our national parks in the country, they don't allow you to go out in the night. Okay, and which keeps you away from the most important facet of the forest, a world which is quite unlike the world that we see experience in the daytime. Okay, whether it is in the forest or whether it is in our building itself, especially I have spent a lot of time listening to shrews around my building, or searching for caterpillars in the night, or looking for moths, hovering around flowers, try to find different things in the building itself. So it is quite a fascinating thing, and it will always remain a fascination for human being because we are completely alien to that world.
Can you give us some examples, what you see?
Ah, for example, the most amazing predator that we have on the land, okay, is the shrew, is the house shrew that lives with us in the cities, not in some tiger reserves or something. Okay, it is a crazy animal. Okay, it is, if you relate to your textbooks, then tigers have evolved from a shrew-like animal. Okay, somewhere down in the evolutionary tree, it was a tree shrew. It was a shrew-like animal that lived on the trees. Okay, and tigers have been, have evolved from that. That's what our science right now says. Okay, and the shrew itself is such a fascinating animal. For example, to tell you simple things, the shrew consumes 64 times more oxygen than human beings do. It is a small mammal, okay, but with a quite a rapid physiology. Okay, the metabolism is very, very fast. It consumes a tremendous amount of oxygen. Okay, that means it produces a lot of energy, and it produces such a lot of energy that whether it is awake or whether it is in sleep, in deep sleep, the shrew keeps on moving. It keeps on twitching. So every 3 seconds, the shrew has to move. Otherwise, the energy that it produces is going to kill it. Okay, so again, an animal which fascinates. Okay, if you try on Google, shrew uh, versus, then you get a whole list of animals that the shrews can fight with, okay, or have been known to fight with and overpower. It's a crazy animal. Just to give you a comparison, if the shrew, was to be a size of an elephant, the amount of energy that the shrew would produce would cause it to explode like a bomb.
Really? Uh-huh.
Okay, and it is the most amazing predator. There is nothing that escapes from it. Okay, it's an insectivore. What lives around us, okay, it is there for the insects. There is a problem with our societies, especially because we are looking to cement concretize everything, therefore eliminating the space that shrews available, that shrews need, and at the same time eliminating the services that shrews provide us by controlling insect populations. Okay, so that animal is something which fascinates me, and fortunately for all of us, even today, it is the most common animal that we can see in the city, only if you bother to look for it. And in the night, if you are by your window, you will definitely hear it shrieking, squeaking around you. Okay, it's an almost blind animal with just barely functional eyes, but uh, extremely well developed sense of smell. Okay, so it sniffs out insects, it sniffs out creatures from the soil and eats them. Okay, it is also credited to be venomous. So it does have venom with it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it qualifies it to be an amazing creature, an amazing predator, much more fascinating than probably tigers are. In Hindi, it is called chachundar.
Okay.
Okay, and we have the saying also, chachundar ke sar pe, whatever that
Yeah.
chameli nahe, chameli or something. So it is a well-known animal in our culture because it has always lived closely with human beings.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, but it is the most fascinating carnivore that we have around us. Okay, much more because there is so much to read. There's so much to read. Like for example, like again, as I just recollect some of the points, like human heart beats at the rate of about 60 beats or something. Okay, but the shrew heart at it beats at a rate of almost 3,000 beats per minute. Okay, that is the amount of energy that it keeps on producing, and for which it should eat a lot. Okay, and it should hunt a lot. Okay, so it has to eat even for the night time, so it eats a lot of stuff, and it gives all these services for us because almost everything that it eats is what we generally collect as creepy and crawlies. Every time you walk into the night, you are going to see a snake or you're going
Uh-huh.
to see a frog. Okay, it also largely depends upon the season. It also depends upon the microclimate of the area. Okay, and how it changes. Like for example, right now it is raining a lot. Okay, in Mumbai. So if we go out now, we will be seeing a lot of frogs and stuff, especially around water bodies. Okay, we'll be hearing them, but the insect life will be kind of subdued because they will all stay away from the rains.
Okay.
Okay, the snakes will be there. We will see a lot of creatures on the roads itself. Okay,
Mhm.
so that is there. So there is lot of dynamicity. It is not so easy to say that, oh, we will see this, we will see that. You know, to draw a parallel, uh, I I often tell it to the kids around me. This is a nice quote from the movie Forrest Gump, where basically Tom Hanks' mother tells him that, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you get. So it's the same thing with the forest. Like you can't predict that, oh, we are going to see this or we are going to see that. It so happens many a times is that when we walk barely a few meters and you end up seeing a lot of things. But then there are days when you walk kilometers on end and you hardly see anything. So it is quite unpredictable, or rather it's very dynamic. Okay. Um, Predators, of course, are on the move, like large animals, especially. Okay, so nighttime is fascinating, and we, as a species, we have not yet fully explored the facets of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and before we know that, we have almost destroyed the skies, which used to be dark at one point of time.
Correct. There's so much light nowadays, you really can't see anything. You're blinded by light, in fact, today. What are the other fascinating creatures, you see, and anything fascinating facts about them? Like the shrew, shrew was very fascinating.
Currently, we will have lot of snakes, especially the bamboo pit viper,
Mhm.
strictly nocturnal creature. Okay, finds a nice place for itself, and that place it barely leaves. So once you see a bamboo pit viper at one place, it is likely to be there every time you go there. Okay, because their roost, their basically night spots are fixed. Okay,
Uh,
it's like they do house hunting, and once they get the right house, which provides for their food needs, which provides for their social interactions, which provides security, they are not likely to leave it unless something terrible happens, like somebody chops off the tree or something of that sort. Okay, so currently the bamboo pit vipers are all over the place in the forest. But having said that, it is still a very, very difficult proposition to go and find them. Okay. It is a nocturnal creature. I have seen a bamboo pit viper eat a bat. Okay. A small bat. And the snake was sitting on a branch that was going over the road, and it was catching bats over there. So you can imagine how precise it would be. And they are, bamboo pit vipers for us human beings are like CIA stuff, because they have thermal vision. They can sense the body heat of an individual, and then that's their strategy of hunting. Okay, they don't depend upon their eyes too much, for because there's hardly any light to see. So they form thermal images. Okay, so that's all really CIA stuff to do. Okay, and it's so precise that this guy that I saw, a guy or girl, uh, it had caught a bat, which is quite a fast flying animal. So the snake is awesome.
awesome.
Okay,
Yes.
though I have seen other snakes eat bats also, but catching something flying in the air is another thing. So nightlife calls for a completely different range of adaptations. Okay, starting from better vision accessories. Okay, better grippings. Okay, like the pit viper, a new way to see things around you, perceive things around you. Okay, if you talk about bats, then they have a fascinating evolved hearing sense. Okay, so different adaptations which otherwise are not really so very well encountered in the daytime. Okay, like as extreme adaptations, and these are extreme adaptations. Okay, so especially the leopard, which is like a, it's a ghost. So you may not always see it. For example, in the forest, it is, you know um, we always say that every time you enter the forest, it's not necessary that you will see a leopard, but the leopard will have seen you. Okay, whether or not you see a leopard, but the leopard will still see you. Okay, because it's that kind of an animal, extremely shy, very elusive, and smart. You know, what other people may say, use the word cunning. I won't definitely use that word, but rather it's a very, very smart animal. And as a cat, all cats are quite fascinating. And the leopard is, and the tiger is just like oversized cats, just big cats. So, but very few times I have encountered a leopard on the trails, whether it is in the day or night. There's hardly been a few times when we have actually encountered. And most of the times, before we could gather our senses, the leopard had made the decision to, leave us alone. Okay. And that's what the animal does. Okay. At many times, at some times, basically, uh, in the Sanjay Gandhi National Park, we were inside a car in the night and waiting for something to happen. And on the lights of the car, in the headlights, there were these moths and insects flying and settling. And a leopard came up and started eating those moths also. Okay, on the car light. Okay, which was like, the moths were hardly anything of size in for the leopard, but it was free food, and it was making sure that it's getting them. Okay, so it's an animal, like, again, you don't need to. It's very difficult to say that these are the boundaries. This is what a leopard is, because you never know what the leopard could turn out to be. Okay, I have seen the leopard on almost all impossible places, in under construction buildings, in Andheri, inside a gym, in the SRPF police training camp, unimaginable, in the building, in the parking lots of some of the top rated properties in Mumbai, where the leopard was in the parking lots and stuff. So crazy, and it could baffle you. And as Mumbaikars, we are learning how to live with leopards. Leopards have already figured the way out how to live with humans. Okay, but as human beings, we need more of this figuring out to do, as to how to live, survive with leopards. And not every leopard encounter in public, with people, is a conflict. Okay, uh, so that perception that every time you see a leopard around your building or around your residential area or somewhere, it indicates it is not conflict. It is just that the animal is there, you know, and it has always been coexisting. It's just that you chanced upon it today.
Yes, Shardul, can you tell us about your adventures and beyond? You're the co-founder. And what is the connection between adventure and nature?
Uh, so, like, again, the connection is about how to broad base the communications. Okay, um, when I was while working in sanctuary, it was a constant thought that we are, like I said before, preaching to the choir. It's the same community that is going to Kanha, Rantambor, and going to the forest as an alien in a UFO. You know, and coming back and writing, and the same people are again reading it.
Yes.
We were never breaking the boundaries. And the reality is that in Mumbai, I think, I'm talking of a figure from 10 years back from now. In Mumbai, just in the city of Mumbai, there are about 4,000 hiking and trekking clubs. Okay. And all these people also use the wilderness. They go for hikes, they go for treks, they do a lot of toiling. Probably they are much more organically involved with the forest than, the Kana and the Bandhavgarh tourists.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how do we tap into that? There is a growing community around the world which is looking at nature as a playground. And why should it not? You know, in rock climbing, if you go to see, then it was probably the first ever sport that humans developed, because it was not, of course, a sport then, but it was a important, essential skill for hunters and gatherers. Yeah. So then that was my itch to how to broad base. And what was in front of me was Sanjay Gandhi National Park, where we had double the number of people registering and having a unique ID for a morning walk than probably the highest number of members that BNHS ever had in the history. Okay. Uh, and we were not touching them. We were not including them. Rather, we were excluding them from the whole conservation communications. Okay. Excluding them in the sense like, oh, these morning walkers are a hassle. They disturb the forest, But, if somebody asked me, like, okay, why do you want to save Sanjay Gandhi National Park? Or I may be talking about butterflies and pig wasps and tigers and stuff, and at the same time, if you ask a morning walker, and why do you want to save the Sanjay Gandhi National Park? His answer would be that because it contributes positively to my health. I can come out here, I can go for a walk, I can take a jog, I can cycle, and that's much more a tangible reason, to understand, for people to understand and to relate to, rather than asking them or telling them that, oh, this butterfly is so beautiful, look at it, you will fall in love. Not necessary, everybody will fall in love. Not necessary. Okay. And why should we force everybody that, no, because I like butterflies, you should also like butterflies? So rather, it's everybody has to get their, expressions. Now, at the same way, like what I'm talking about, the outdoor sports, culture is such a big wave. What happened when we started with the uh, Sanjay Gandhi National Park online ticketing systems. What we got was basically about 75% of the tourists who entered Sanjay Gandhi National Park went to the Canary Caves.
Okay.
So that was the biggest draw. Okay. Now that's where basically I started looking at lots of different sources. That's where we were looking at getting broad basing the whole communication, including everybody. Whether you go out, like I said before, on a call with you, whether you go out for a walk with your dog, or whether you go out and walk on the moon, everybody has a space to talk in adventure. And that's why the magazine is also named Adventure, Sports and Beyond. So we are not looking at just the sports aspect, but we are looking at the beyond aspect. In the inaugural issue of the magazine, we touched upon an important point about how adventure has shaped the world as we know it today.
It's amazing, amazing. Shardul, you were part of the lockdown campaign of Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Can you please tell us more about it? What are the strategies adopted by nature?
So, to tell you the beginning of it, it basically, the whole entire campaign of Sanjay Gandhi National Park, outreach campaign of Sanjay Gandhi National Park, I started in the year 2014 or somewhere. And that included various things, right from designing the logo that the park has, okay, to the websites, to the social media handles and everything. So it was basically me and my friend Niam, who is an artist. So basically, we were working together. And when the lockdowns came into the picture, when COVID evolved and everything, it was mayhem. Okay. So somewhere where I was trying to figure out for myself what this new dimension, what this new world is all about, you know, I thought of, and I was seeing around me the palpable, tension, the pressure that everybody was in with the concepts of lockdown, not moving out from your houses, not seeing, interacting with other people. My mother especially, she doesn't move out of the house, normally. And she often tells me that I'm bored of seeing you people again and again. I want to see different people, which is, but, but natural, but natural for human beings. We are social animals. And, so it was telling on everybody around me. I was, either we were fixated to our news media, watching all the gory and ghastly scenes that they were showing of how COVID situation was evolving, quite unnecessary at one point. And that's where I thought that, let's try and give a nice angle to it and use the social media of Sanjay Gandhi National Park to some effect, to at least talk about the various strategies of lockdowns and PPs and quarantines and this and that, everything, vaccines, all the different aspects by taking some examples from nature. Okay. Which again, basically it came to me like, we started, it was not something that we thought that we would do like this and that. Basically it was a couple of friends, they are known as the JY brothers, their photographs I was going through for the use of social media. And that's where I thought, okay, we can give some nice twist to it and we can talk about it in a different way. And I started to do that. And luckily, it was picked up by people, because practically almost nobody was working at that time. So the only thing that most of us were doing was to be on social media, was on Facebook. And the whole campaign was picked up. It started getting a lot of momentum. Uh, you know, it was reaching out to far and wide. There were lots of responses. So people then started contributing their own stuff as well. Like somebody, we were talking about something, and some person came up and he said that, oh, look, yesterday on my balcony, I saw this peregrine falcon eat a pigeon. So he sent me a photo of that. So I used that photo in a different way. Okay, so it was a wonderful, like, interaction with everybody. At the same time, what was happening was, because everybody was about staying in the home and stuff. So we also started sending out updates for people, like as to when is the International Space Station visible in the sky. So people could go out and see the International Space Station moving in the sky above. So we started sending out those updates that at this time, so and so place, at so and so height, look out in this direction and you will see the space station move. And it's quite a fascinating thing, because it was motivating also. Many people said that, this is so helpful for us, because when we say about when we talk about nature and extinctions and environmental degradation and stuff, but at the same time we also have to, the International Space Station, which is like, what to say, the the reach of human beings, you know as to where our adventitious spirit and the want for knowledge and the technology, improved technology, has taken us. Okay. So it is like, so it was, putting all things together, and just about generating some interest in people, so that wherever they are, they can just go to the balcony or probably look outside the window towards the sky if the sky is visible, or go to the terrace and watch out for the space station. So we started sending out. It was good fun. I started getting responses from all over the place. People started sending out their photos that, yeah, we saw that. We got videos of people. It was fun.
Yeah.
So at 75-day, the campaign I carried out. So every day, one post about lockdowns, about, these things. So we covered everything from tortoise shell beetles, how they have a protective covering over their body that helps them survive, which basically I likened it to the PPE that, suddenly we were, all talking about that, oh, PPE, PPE, it is a very uncomfortable thing to wear, although, but everybody was talking about it. Uh, but yeah, so lots of different things. Like, for example, we have, and there was this spotted owlets. So this beautiful photo, where the spotted owlet is inside a tree hole, and it is just eating out of the, of that cavity. And so that is basically where the owl wants to lock it, be away from everybody, secluded, protected, and only come out when the time is right. So I started drawing all these connections and helping people relate to, the campaign was more about making people relate to these new ideas and concepts, which were very, 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 you know, pressurizing, to say the least. Okay. And I think even today I can see some of the post-traumatic stress in many of the people around, because the impact of those 1.5 year of lockdowns is not so easy to wash off.
So, what are the parallels? You were talking to me about the hornbill
Yes.
and
So the
hibernating
hornbill,
animals. Yeah.
yes. So lots of it, I barely touched upon a few of them, but for example, the hornbills, the hornbills have a nesting phenomenon where the female locks itself up in a tree hole, in a cavity, in a tree cavity, and she sheds all the feathers. Okay. And she's entirely dependent on the male for supplying food. And the male is busy making rounds from fruiting trees to the nest, okay, supplying the female with food to eat at the first, and then when her eggs have hatched, the male has to then double up and to provide more food, because then there are more mouths to feed. At one point, say about after 45 days, the female emerges from the cavity again. Okay, she locks herself down in the sense that she just keeps a small peephole from where the male can just give her the fruit, not nothing more than that. So it is a much for 40-45 days the bird is inside the cavity. Okay, and it willfully locks itself down to protect the eggs that she is going to lay and the chicks that are going to hatch. Okay, but at the same time, when you look at it, like the first thing that somebody asked me on this post was like, oh, their house must be a mess, because what happens when they poop? When they eat so much food, they will have to poop. So all these tree nesting birds, they have an interesting strategy to poop as well. They Whatever they excrete, it comes out nicely packed up in a bag of mucus, which the female will simply pick up and throw outside the nest. Okay, so it keeps the nest clean, and it helps a lot. So it's not that they are defecating all over the place and splashing that place with their excreta, but rather the way it is evolved is basically it comes out nicely packed in a bag of mucus that can be simply eliminated by throwing it out. So even barbets do that. Okay, all the tree cavity birds will do that. Okay, because the cavities are small, and even if they are big, you don't want your excreta to land up over there, because that will then catch infections. Uh, but there are so many different animals who do the same thing. So many different. Even at times, you have plants also doing some things which are very, very unique.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and which show a lot of awareness about the situation, about the environment, and cooperative, thinking, especially plants. Now that we know for sure that plants not only are able to communicate with each other, but at the same time, plants are able to help the others in distress.
Yes.
Whether they belong to their same species or not, it doesn't really matter. But it's they do it, you know. So when the time demands, when the situation demands, they are able to help out. So these are another very fascinating creatures that I personally am very, very fascinated by plants.
They say underground through fungi, they, connect with each other.
Yes, yes. So with the mycelium
I see.
network in the
Yep.
ground,
Mhm.
so they do that. Another interesting creature when we talk about locking down oneself is the trapdoor spider. Okay, we were just a few years before the COVID, I was introduced to the trapdoor spiders, and it's a fascinating stuff. It makes tubular burrows in the grounds. The burrow is forked at one end. There are many different structures that they make species wise. Okay, and they have a hinge door at the top. Okay, so the spider operates that hinge door, and the what the spider basically does is it lays out a network of fine silk around the opening, so that any grasshopper, cricket, or whatever walking through will send out vibrations which the spider is sitting inside like an orchestra conductor, and feeling for those. And the moment it is sure that yeah, this is something to be caught and eaten up, the spider will come out of the door, catch the creature, and go back into the door. And it's camouflage. The camouflage is ultimate. So when you are out in the forest next time, do keep an eye, or probably you need some help. Anybody, to see the trapdoor spiders, you need help for sure. It's not easy, and these are not small spiders. These are not small. These are quite big spiders. Okay, so like one very similar thing what we did in the lockdown campaign that we ran was basically a lot of these articles, and we started hearing about that how nature is coming back because of lockdowns. you know so, and all glorification was happening around it, and because oh, nature is coming back when human activity, it's of course, that's how the media plays it out. But nature is coming back. When has it left us? Like, it's just that we had nothing to do, you know, and then in the time that we got, we were, so idle and so vella types that we started hearing what was outside our window, and that is where we came up with the campaign, of making bird calls, recording bird calls, the common birds that we generally found around human habitations in Mumbai. And we started making a series of those calls. Like, this is what you are hearing out. This is the bird. This is how the bird looks. So try to relate basically, and underline the fact that they have always been there. They have not come back because of the lockdown and stuff, but they have always been there. But we have been so busy and so held up in our own routine that we never gave ourselves the opportunity to notice them, or to hear them, or to feel them. And it's better that once we are out of this lockdown, we make time for these things. Various examples, like for example, tussar silk moth, the way the caterpillar looks like a big fat green jelly sweet. Okay, and it goes into a lockdown for about 45 days. It locks itself up into a cocoon. Nobody can access it then, but what comes out of it is a completely changed creature. So we have to look at that. We have to make it, just to lighten up the pressure. It was very, very important to put all these examples in front of the people, and to tell them that this is not a foreign concept. This is something that has been happening time and around, so much so that creatures have made it a part of their survival strategies. For example, the seeds of Abrus precatorius, the crab-eyed creeper.
Mhm.
Okay, they just advertise their offensive nature, and species don't interact with it. while everybody eats their leaves, the leaves are devoured by everybody, including humans, but nobody will, bother about the seeds. And much rightly so. They have a deadly toxin at their disposal, and four of those seeds crushed and powdered could easily kill a human being. Okay, it's that. But the leaves we eat. Yeah. So, how do plants basically also try to send out the right kind of messages that don't mess with us? Stay your distance. Otherwise, we could be a problem for you. Nature is about languages. Nature is about the clothes you wear. Nature is about our cultures. Nature is about how we look. Nature is about how we conduct ourselves. Nature includes the sky above. Nature includes the ground below our feet. Everything is nature. It's about the food that we eat. Everything stems from nature. And at the time when we say that we are destroying nature, or we are destroying species, or species are getting extinct, so are cultures, so is the indigenous knowledge, so is the art forms, so is everything that is beautiful around us. Everything that is built may not be heritage, but everything that is not destroyed yet is heritage. So while we have the living, non-living heritage, we have the monuments, we have the caves, we have different things, but at the same time, we have living heritage. The biodiversity out there is a much active part of our heritage.
Yeah, but beautiful, Shardul. I mean, you've given us so many insights. I love the thing, that we have to break it down into little bits so that the common people, can understand and can learn and can execute, care for the earth. And another lovely thing you spoke about is that nature is much, much more. It's also, languages, culture, the historical monuments. It's people above all, So these are very important for us to take care of the environment. It is not just the flora and fauna. I really must thank you very much, Shardo. It has been a wonderful time, talking to you. And I look forward to seeing you again on my episode, another podcast episode. Thank you very much. And thank you for
Thank
joining today's talk.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, madam. It's a complete pleasure. And I look forward to walking with you in the forest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.